Hi friends and welcome to Eye on the Storm. Sorry for the delay, but I had some massive technical issues. I miss Anna already as she's the one who normally runs the production side of things, but we will soldier through without her. And by the way, she's not here, she's working an event, so if you guys want to send her a tweet and tell her how much you miss her or wish her luck with her event, that'd be pretty cool. But anyway, this is Eye on the Storm. If you guys haven't heard of the show before, it is a podcast Anna and I host every week all about Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard's hero brawler. We talk about things happening in the community, things happening on the game side in esports. We also talk about different cool things that are coming up, like spotlights and events. And then we also have a play session and feature some different, sometimes some builds and some different play. But this week we have lots of guests. But before I get to that, I want to also introduce Misscliks, the channel that we're on. This is a channel dedicated to uplifting women in the geek and gaming scene. We have a lot of really cool shows, so make sure you check those out. Without further ado, speaking of an awesome woman in gaming and heroes, my co-host this week is Elevate Laura Lania. She's from Team Elevate and also The Core Report, which I want to hear more about. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Laura?
Okay, well, starting off with the Core Report, it's a show that we do Monday, now 9 o'clock Central, and it's a community Heroes of the Storm show targeted toward the beginner and intermediate audience because we already have so many great shows like Eye of the Storm, Town Hall Heroes, that really get down deep into esports and details and balance patches and whatnot. We want to create another friendly environment and get everyone involved. And with Elevate, I'm the director of the Heroes of the Storm team, and basically what that means is I keep everybody in Elevate moving towards the great end goal of being on main stage at BlizzCon with the best and brightest in the heroes industry, and I'm a full-time streamer here on twitch.tv.
So thank you so much for being here to host with me. I'm really excited to have you. While I'm introducing our other guests, if you wouldn't mind just turning down your microphone a little bit. I'll see, it might be just Skype in general, so you guys let us know if it's loud, but okay, you've got it. So also we have 3 guests this week. I'm so excited. So we have Taza and Shadow Smile, who are managers of Team Naventic. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that's correct.
And in case you haven't heard of that, that is Bob Ross fan club, who just got picked up. Well, at least the announcement was today, so congratulations on that, first of all.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then Shadow Smile is the manager of Team Blaze. And then we also have Tsukima, who is coach of Panda Global. And with regionals coming up, it's always, as those big events come up, tough to get players on, which we like to have a lot of players on and talk to them about what they're thinking with the game. And I really wanted to still be able to talk about regionals, and I thought, what better way than if we talked to some of the managers who are out there really helping teams and coaching as well, and get a look into that side of it and how you guys help the teams prepare. So that's going to be our big focus of conversation today. But before we get into that, I want to hear how all of you guys got into Heroes and got connected with your team in the position that you're in. So why don't we start with you, Taza?
Okay, I'm Taza. I got into Heroes actually through Heroes Hype. I got contacted by Eunice when I was still playing League of Legends to join the game. And so right after the season ended for League, I came and just kind of played the game for fun and then joined Heroes Hype and went to Cloud9 from there. And I've known Zuna and Kenma since probably 2012, and I played on a team with fans. So when after I retired and went to go full-time, they asked me to come back as their manager. So that's why I'm back in the scene again now.
Awesome. And what about you, Shadow Smile?
So my whole entrance into the scene was kind of prolonged, but originally Team Blaze was a Heroes of the Dorm team that I then took from the collegiate scene and made into a professional organization with my background in esports. And so kind of already knew some of the players, and then we just built it from there based off some Hero League heroes, and you have Team Blaze today.
Awesome. And then finally, we don't have him on cam, but we have Tsukima here, who is the coach of Panda Global. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got to that position?
So basically, got bored of League of Legends, so I decided to start Heroes of the Storm with Big Impact, who's one of the players on Panda Global. We both started out, we made a team. We started playing in the amateur scene, got into the competitive scene, but I had to stop playing due to the fact that I'm from Quebec. So due to the governmental laws, I couldn't play in the qualifiers. So I decided I wanted to do something in the scene, even though if I'm not a player, I can help out. And I decided to coach Berkeley, the Heroes of the Dorm team. And it was actually a really good insight for me because, Fan being on the team, he was very knowledgeable. So from that, I then got a position with Murloc Geniuses. I stuck with Murloc Geniuses for about 9 months until we, sadly, we went our separate ways. And afterwards, I asked Biggie if I could, try out with his team. And yeah, we're here today. And I'm with Panda Global now.
I think I'm the only person that, didn't get their start in Heroes through League of Legends.
No.
I just started with Heroes.
I didn't do much other than play League of Legends. I played it some, but mine was that I was trying to do StarCraft content, and then once Heroes came out, I was like, oh my gosh, this game is everything. And so that's when I swapped over.
Yeah, it definitely captured my heart by storm.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
The jokes are real, guys. We're only like 5 minutes in. Nice. More to come. Well, let's.
Please no.
Please, yes. Oh, prepare the cringe cannons.
Well, let's start off with our community discussion and maybe start off with talking more about team management, and then we'll get into the coaching after that, and then follow up with that, talking about what you guys do specifically at events, because I know that's just so different. But Laura, do you want to start off the management discussion?
I absolutely would, and I'm going to target that probably at Pat to start with. Management is such a big catch-all term sometimes in esports. What does that mean for you to start off with, and then we can ask the other gentleman in the call here?
Management for my team, I guess, essentially it's mostly scrim scheduling. My team has had a past with questionable public relations, and so when I came in, I decided to handle all of their PR requests also. But being an unsigned organization, the past month or two has been a lot of just sponsor negotiations, and essentially you're just a liaison for the players among any organization that you're going to be working with.
Questionable public relations. Very nice.
Yeah. we used to be pretty blunt in the way that we conveyed our thoughts.
It was definitely no holds barred. Patrick, what about you? What does management mean for you in esports? Shadow Smile?
Management for Team Blaze is hurting cats. For the fact of everybody in Team Blaze is a student, and so there's a lot of different schedules I'm having to deal with on a day-to-day basis, as well as managing their their in-game lives, their out-of-game lives, just making sure they're having that balance as they're young adults, kind of moving forward. And so taking what experiences I've had in esports and kind of pushing that forward, as well as on the side, because Team Blaze is an independent organization, really trying to grow the organization, make sure I can secure sponsorships, and really try to grow the PR for Team Blaze. So it's a little bit of mix of player management and then just management of an actual organization. So it's kind of different in my case.
Keeping everybody kind of going on the same road.
Right.
I want to know how it is that you have such a fantastic Twitter account too, because you run that, right?
Oh my God, yes.
Very good at
please,
memeing.
bravo
Those are great
for that.
gifts.
You guys
So,
are just
Insane memer.
yeah.
Yes, I am the dank memer. I'm the man behind the memes, as some people like to say. So like when I take off the mask, it's just another Pepe mask. So, but really, and my mom brought this up because she follows the Twitter, and she's like, I don't get half the stuff you say, but I think it's really funny. So she brought it up, and apparently a lot of this background itself, because it's improv, and it came from Boy Scouts, surprisingly, because you do campfires and you'd have to do skits and you'd have to be very personable and you'd have to basically work the crowd. So with different type of people, if you're working towards young kids or if you're working towards grown men, and just trying to gain that sense and convey, try to be funny while at the same time be respectful. And I kind of took that and put it into Team Blaze. It's like, hey, memes are funny. I like memes. Let's not be too cringy with these and just kind of go with it, because there can be a meme overload, and we haven't hit that point yet. So I've kind of been like waning it off, trying to figure out where's the sweet spot. And I think we're in a good place right now. That itself in Twitch chat kind of drives that forward with the Blazer Dongers and the 420 Cheez-Its. So,
Oh my gosh.
you know, Twitch chat is doing my job for me nowadays. I'm just kind of going along with the hype train. So, thanks, Twitch.
Yeah, no, that's good. You guys really do walk that line really well of not being insulting and yet still, like, you know, feeding the fire. Ah,
Right.
there's another one free.
Feeding the
Been
fire.
here all night.
Oh God.
And Tsukima, again, same question directed at you. Such a big catch-all term sometimes in esports. What does it mean to you,
But
being
maybe
management?
maybe more on the side of coaching though, since that's
Well-
your
Well,
Right,
yeah,
sorry.
I mean, in terms of management, like, also, like, I had to do management, and this was for Murloc Geniuses when we went to Vegas, so I kind of had, like, a feel for it.
Okay.
Personally, I think managers, you know, they're essential. They're, you know, they have a big role in the team. But for me, it wasn't something I really liked because I feel like there's times where I need, you know, the manager's help. I need, you know, I need to be catered as well. And I feel like I'm not the most responsible person and sometimes. But, nah, definitely managers have a huge role. They keep the players in line. They keep the players like in line with real life responsibilities because there's some players that do not have as much experience in the real world compared to others, and the manager is there to help them with basically taking their mind off certain aspects at an event, for example, and you know making sure they're all about the game. So it definitely has a huge role for a team.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when people are first starting to get to know the esports side of a game and they're like, okay, I really like this game, I want to start seeing professionals and how they approach it and play it, there's a lot of confusion about what a manager does and what a coach does, and like sometimes some overlap too, often when you like have somebody doing both of the roles or only have one of those roles for a team. So I think there's a lot of confusion from people about, you know, what the differences are between the two roles.
Right. Yeah.
So let's see, what is the next? What is unique about being a manager or even a coach as well for Heroes specifically in relation to other games?
Do you want to start with Pat with that one, or
Sure.
do you want to?
Or if Tsukima has.
Honestly,
Go ahead,
I
Pat.
think that being from the League of Legends scene and the StarCraft scene before that, essentially I think that the manager is pretty much the same role.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably a little bit less work in Heroes of the Storm just because you don't travel as much for events, so it's a lot less just booking flights and making sure that the players are doing everything on their schedule. And essentially, I mean, honestly, it's the same job. You're pretty much an operations manager for your team, and
That's
honestly,
a
I
really
can't
great
think
way
of
of putting it, is an operations manager,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're doing a little bit of both, and it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of in-game, out-of-game, like
you're a
keeping
little bit of a
everybody.
parent for the players too.
Oh, it's great to be a player. You guys just get to play the game and be super famous, and then you got, you know, the moms and dads and coaches and managers going, "Oh my God, please open that document!" Like.
Do you guys have any
shout out-
other yeah?
I think on the coaching side, it's more of overseeing the game. You know, there's certain aspects of the game that, let's say, a player right after a game, for example, wouldn't really catch, and you know, getting them on board and just letting them know what has happened, and also looking at different scenes as well. You know, it's really important looking at the European scene, for example, Korean scene, and getting them like up to base on what's happening and what we should try, and especially having a structure for this. So I've seen a lot of teams like working in the past that, let's say, for example, in drafting, they have no structure in terms of what they prioritize as a team. And you see this mainly in like amateur teams where they will just draft whatever, maybe just draft the OPs or, you know, the quote unquote meta that other teams end up like making over time in a patch, and it's up to like a coach and also the team to set out like an actual structure, basically saying, trying to word it in a way that makes sense, but
Like almost like guidelines for drafting?
exactly.
Yeah.
So this pick will work in this situation. Why? Because we're playing this map, for example. You know what I mean? And just having a structure behind draft is what I'm trying to say.
Patrick, any thoughts on that question? Any differences that you see?
No, I mean, every scene is different on its own. I've done StarCraft and Dota. Dota was a little bit different just for the fact of it was EU, and like Pat was saying before, there's a lot more, flights happening. There's a lot more player management, and then it was European for me, so it was definitely a different time zone. Hero Scene is not only being an owner but being a manager. It feels more personal, and so I've actually been able to develop a really good trusting relationship with my players, and so I think that's why, at least in our case, why Team Blaze has stayed together for so long, despite coming from an amateur team to one of the top North American teams now, is because we kind of grew that trust as a team. And so I think Heroes itself is a more tight-knit community, and not only that, but the teams are as well. So that's why when you see teams disband, you'll see a lot of the same players come back together because they've already developed those relationships and that trust. Because Heroes you can't necessarily carry as easily, and so when you don't have to already adapt a play style to a different player, then you kind of are already ahead of the curve when you're rebuilding or you're going forward again. So
Yeah, it's a big kudos to that too. You guys are one of the teams that have been around. Wow, I think the only team beforehand was Murloc Geniuses that could claim being together since I think just around regionals last year.
I think you guys are the longest.
I think
Yeah,
so.
they're
Roster.
now the last.
Now
Yeah.
the longest, probably.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
congratulations to you guys on that. That's really something you should be proud of. And God, somebody signed these guys.
I mean, that's all towards my players, because if the trust wasn't there and if the dedication definitely wasn't there, then I don't think we would have stayed together as long as we did. But definitely things have come together in a positive manner, and we hope we can show that moving forward into 2016.
Yes. Munching away on dinner. Yeah, that's really awesome, and I think that it's been really cool to see your team grow together too throughout. What challenges have each of you faced in your roles? Some examples of them, even if it needs to be pretty vague to protect the teams, but still as an idea for some of the challenges that you guys face in your roles, and how have you overcome them? Let's start with Patrick this time.
Oh my God! So TLDR,
Oh boy!
TLDR immediately.
Oh boy!
Be in there.
the whole conversation of, oh, you guys are cheese, you guys are garbage. Oh my God. So at one point, teams were blacklisting each other because, people were giving away strats, people were giving away scrims. We had to start blacklisting people because they're like, you guys are trolling us. And they would BM off to the side to the players, and then the players would get tilted. And Pat's laughing because he knows for sure somebody would do it, and we've never.
I may have done that on Vortex to you for a week or two, maybe.
But oh my gosh, the salt was so real, and then we'd win with it, and then even more tears would come out from the players, and so we had to go to the meta for a little bit, and then come back to our roots. So that was probably my number one thing, at least stressful situation, because it's we're trying to get better, but nobody will play us. Please come back.
Yeah, it's tough when personal feelings can get in the way of professionalism and moving forward with your games. Blacklisting, that's got to be difficult to deal with.
Well, it's not like it was a negative connotation for us. It's just if we can't grow because negative attitude or just etc., then it was just kind of hard, just as an organization and as players, because it was very frustrating. So went back to Hero League, and that's probably the one time you saw all 5 players of Team Blaze on that top 200 list for that Blizzard sends out every month.
The dream.
That's a tough problem. Yeah, that's an interesting one. What about you, Taza?
In 2015, I think that there's a lot more blacklisting. Sorry, a lot of players, because they hadn't met each other in person, they got these online rivalries and they started hating each other. And honestly, it does happen in most esports scenes until the first large-scale LAN events where everybody gets to meet each other happens.
Okay.
It's sometimes through text, your feelings aren't conveyed the way that you probably want them to come out. And so that was definitely an issue for us. Like, we still have some problems with that. There's a team or two that we just aren't able to scrim because certain players have issues that they haven't been able to resolve with other players from another team. But for my team specifically, I think the hardest part for us, just because a lot of the other organizations are already signed, with the newer orgs coming in, the Heroes of the Storm is a pretty small game, and as a result of it, it's really hard to be able to pitch your impressions and pretty much everything that the sponsors are going to want to sign a team. And finding an organization that was willing to work through this growth stage and still be able to provide the financial support that a player would need to pursue the game full time was a very big problem. And I would assume that anybody else who's looking for a middle tier to high tier organization right now, you either get lowballed by the high tier or you settle with a mid tier that you hope will grow with you and be able to support you through the growth of Heroes of the Storm this year.
Yeah, and Eventic is a great org to be with. I'm really happy for you guys.
I think
we're really happy with them.
Go ahead, Tsukima.
Yeah. I think I'd say I'd reiterate on the point that Taza made, because that's exactly, at least when I was with Murloc Geniuses, that was exactly a big thing that we had to go through, is finding an organization that would cater for the team in a reasonable manner. There was a lot of times, when we qualified for regionals, for example, where we talked to organizations that they were like, okay, but we want to see, if you guys make it to BlizzCon, and then we'll sign you guys. And then when we didn't qualify for BlizzCon, it was like, all right, we'll wait until BlizzCon to see for the announcements for Heroes of the Storm if it's going to be even worth investing into. So it's either you got lowballed to the ground, something that you wouldn't really be able to take, and it's just unreal, or you would have to constantly wait and just be playing with no salary at all. And I mean, sometimes it's really hard, and we had no salary for 8 months.
Yeah.
I think, or 6 months. So it was ridiculous.
It's really interesting to hear. Yeah, that's going to be something tough to fight through. I mean, salary is something that's always prevalent on a lot of people's minds. And then, of course, the pressure of winning and regionals and all Enter the Storm and all the different tournaments that go on, that's going to be really stressful. But it's great that you guys persevere and have built such amazing teams or joined such amazing organizations with what you guys have got so far.
Yep, we're really excited to see all of the teams at regionals too. It's going to be really fun. We'll be talking more about that very soon. And actually, I wanted to maybe jump into the events section, as we still want to talk about that and at least gloss over the patch that came out this week. So did you have any other questions, Laura, about managing a team or coaching specifically before we talk about those roles at events?
Nothing specific comes to mind. Just hearing, going through what they have in their trials and tribulations is really refreshing, actually.
Yeah, things you can relate to.
Yeah, things I can relate to. But this isn't about me. This is about them. So
Well, let's talk about events, because we do have regionals coming up, and I know it's a whole different ballgame for what you guys do at when you're going to actual events, actual lands. And regionals is going to be next weekend, the 27th and 28th. Of February. So how do you guys in your positions help teams prepare for these events? And we'll start with Tsukima this time.
So basically, as from a coaching side, I work really closely with my manager, who's a Barcode. So I make sure that the amount of time we scrims will obviously be increased. We want to, instead of, for example, scrimming 4 hours a day, like 6 times a week. We'll do 4 hours a day 2 times, and then 6 hours a day, like 4 times a week, for example. So we're just, in general, scrimming more. And then, we're constantly looking at other teams, seeing what we could do versus specific teams, like draft-wise. If we ever feel like a replay, let's say we're playing a scrim and we ever feel like a replay will be good to watch to learn about that specific team, we watch it, we evaluate the replay, analyze it, and all that. So we're basically we just go full throttle mode. We're putting our 110%. We really want to go into the event as strong as we can. And something I tell the players, it's not important how we do in scrims. We could be 3-0ing C9 every single scrim block, or even 3-0ing Bob Ross every single scrim block, for example. But that doesn't mean we're going to beat them at the LAN. They could just completely crush us at the LAN. What does that mean? Those scrims mean nothing. So all in all, like, scrim results are not, like, they're not important. It's what's important is how strong we are going into the LAN, how much preparation we have. If we have a lot of notes, a lot of preparation, we make sure our draft is top notch, and that our rotational play, for example, is clean, and our general game is clean, then we will be just much stronger going into the LAN.
This question for Storm Show from Ruben Chavez kind of ties into what you're talking about here, and what kind of standard are the teams holding for individual players on their skill levels? So you're saying that everybody gets prepared, has a whole lot of notes. Does everybody contribute that kind of individually, or do you guys have like sit-down moments where you kind of brainstorm together? Yeah,
we do have, at least for our team, we do have sit-down moments where we talk about what do we really think is strong, especially like when a patch drops in, like a major patch or even one of those balance patches. We go over, what do we think has changed? Do we think our priorities in draft have changed at all? Can we have any specific picks and specific maps that we can pull out, that could surprise a team, for example? There's certain things that you want to show certain teams, and there's certain things that you might not want to show a team to pull out in a tournament game, for example. So there's a lot of intricates that can go into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like it. And what about from the manager side? Taza? Helping team
This upcoming week is pretty much crunch time. We had a talk today with the team, pretty much going into boot camp mode. We actually didn't decide to go to a physical venue to practice as S5 because of contracts that needed to be signed. And so essentially the team understands right now that if you lose at LA, you don't get to go compete against the rest of the world. And it's a pretty good thing to remind your players, just that this is, you're playing to represent North America in the global championships. So
that's a really good point you make there, because you can get kind of into a lull of just playing game after game after game. You have to remind yourself what that end goal is. That's really great to hear.
Yeah, players definitely get complacent right before events, and you gotta kind of kick them into shape and tell them, they have to understand what they're playing for. It's their full-time job for most of them, and if you're getting complacent, then you're probably not going to make it very far in the scene. So right now it's mostly just keeping them motivated, making sure that they get enough practice, and then just mentally preparing them for playing at a LAN event.
And Shadow Smile?
My team has actually been doing double duty in kind of a weird way, because all of them are college students, so when they're not playing scrims, they're getting ready for Heroes of the Dorm. And so, and a lot of those kids, right, like they want those computers, and I've never seen such drive out of Claudius for a computer. And he's like, yeah, like my fan's going out, I need something new. And I was like, oh crap, maybe I just need to buy you a new computer to make sure you can keep playing. But when they're not practicing or scrimming together, they're always in the Skype channel, and I keep on seeing all this meta discussion with Blizzard pushing so many patches out over the past couple weeks. It has, not only with our play style, considering it's so dynamic and different, but it brings new potential just for different things that we can do, and so we're trying out new things. We're
You guys are
coming up
known
with-
for your drafts being
Yeah.
eccentric, I think is the right word.
Eccentric.
I think that what everyone considered cheese to begin with is now very calculated. I don't know. I don't want to call it cheese anymore. It's just very calculated,
not- yeah,
counter
it's cool.
strategies.
Yeah, it's just a
It's
different
really
drafting
great.
Yeah,
style.
it's an off meta play style. Is,
Yeah,
what I would
exactly.
consider it.
and the cool
Lost
thing
their
is, I
mind
think,
with Gazlo.
oh man, I've started like after that, I took it into Hero League, and I think I went like 4 games up because of the Glazlord. And Claudius was like coaching me through it. I'm like, oh man, this is toxic. I need to stop. This is how everything goes down. But no, just a heightened precision. I know a lot of the players have been just playing on their own, and just individually, I've seen just their skill level go up, despite I feeling that they're already in a pretty good place, but just they're heightened and they're ready and they're pumped. They know all the good things that can happen from this event. Obviously, this is going to be our second big LAN event. We didn't qualify last year, and so just the hype of coming from the bottom, now we're a little bit above the bottom, coming from the amateur scene all the way up to the professional scene. And then, hey, now we're going to LA, and I know the hype is behind all the players, and so haven't had any real problems with the complacency. It's just making sure that they're still eating and bathing type of thing because of how much they're playing at this point. So,
I mean, it's a good problem to have.
I was
Right.
gonna ask if you guys had like any rituals before you guys went for tournaments or anything like that. I mean, no longer Bob Ross fan club.
My
but
team
you
does.
guys like all share out of like a bag of Funyuns together. Blaze, you guys like light a candle, anything super
I
crazy?
like that it's always.
we're not performing some rituals or something, if you think in the background.
Does Panda Global like sacrifice a panda? Is that what you're
That'd be
leading to?
terrible.
Okay, Tazzy, you said that you guys do stuff. What is
Yeah,
your team?
my team gets a nice meal before event day. So we did Korean barbecue before Heroes Rising, and then they like to have like a nice a good pastry for breakfast. It's like a nice breakfast, and then that's essentially it. Just like eating well and getting enough sleep and carrying Pepto-Bismol around with you is pretty much the only 3 things that my team needs to prepare for an event.
Stretch also for cramps, please.
Well, I'm not,
Cramps.
I mean, I'm not sure for Panda Global since I'm kind of new.
Yeah.
This is the first LAN event, but I know that Equinox used to sleep at like 8 p.m. That was his thing, that he would sleep extra early at the LAN.
Wow.
Like when everyone else was outside just having fun, he would just sleep really, really early and just wake up like very refreshed. He was ready to
man.
play. I was like, all right,
That is a great
that works for
problem.
you.
So
Yeah, another
clean,
great
like-
problem to have.
Yeah,
It wasn't
no.
a problem. It was his thing. It was good.
Good stuff.
about
Claudius
Blaze?
had his own little thing where the whole time, all the way till the event, he wore this Dignitas jersey. Why does he have a Dignitas jersey with his name on the back that he's had for 2-3 years now? I have no idea, but he ran around it in the whole time, and people were like, "Oh, you're gonna get picked up by Dignitas," and we're like, "No, I just can't get him to take off the jersey." So that's Claudius's own little ritual. But the night before, we had like a group cuddle sesh, and that was it was pretty bonding. Pretty bonding.
It's pretty cute.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm
Pictures were taken and deleted.
More
Aw.
sugar and spice and everything nice in Heroes. None of this salt that we all hear about. Just the cuddles and happiness. See, Heroes is a friendly place.
That's pretty cool. I'm really excited too because it was so many players' first lands, and now the expectation, the understanding of what it'll be like, it's going to be different from Heroes Rising. There's not going to be a crowd, but still just the fact that the understanding of going to a LAN and being in the same venue as your opponents and as your teammates and feeling that synergy, I think we'll see a lot, very good performances out of everyone since they've, for the most part, gotten more used to that. So, like, at events, is there any additional things that you guys do, either coaching or managing specifically? Like, obviously, making sure people wake up, Rami, I'm sure that you are watching the drafts and talking to them between sets.
Yep.
Any other things that you can think of that you do specifically at events to help make sure that they're competing at their best?
And this is a question
No
for me?
drinking the night beforehand.
Well, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I know that's mandatory for most
that's a pretty mandatory thing. I mean, as long as they're well rested, we get a good amount of practice in, and making sure that, let's say we scrim, obviously we practice at the actual event. If we have anything sorted out, we kind of go like to a hotel room, for example, and we make sure we have our draft down to the T. So, we look over everything. We plan for whoever we're going against for the next day, which I feel is really, really important. And, after that, we try not to think about it too much, have a good night's rest, and then we're ready to play for the next day. So just making sure we finalize the preparation, and then that should be it.
Anything to add, Taza or Shadow Smile?
Not really. Like, the only really important thing that we do before is always go through the next day worth of matches right before bed, so everyone just gets in the same room and kind of talks over it for about an hour or two.
I would be so nervous in those talks. Like, woo. But I guess I'm not the one competing, so it's okay.
I mean, everybody shows up so early, day of. Like, all the jitters are gone by time, I guess, it's time to pay up or shut up type of scenario. So I don't think anybody quite had any issues, except for the fact that, at least for Team Blaze, I know, when we went to Heroes Rising, we had the, first 2-game jitters against, of the time, who was it? Murloc Geniuses.
Oh, yes.
And so I knew that was big for us, and then once we got past that, it was like a completely different Team Blaze coming back into it. So
Well, good. Again, I think it'll be great to already have that under your belt going into this event. Do you want to ask this last question, Laura? Underneath events?
Yeah, actually, this one's pretty amazing. I was really hoping you were going to leave it to me.
Yes.
What more would you like to see from Blizzard, Esports, orgs, or the events, the Heroes community to support teams? Like, what would you guys like to see from the official standpoint from either orgs or Blizzard?
Tsukima?
Yeah.
I would say probably just it kind of has to be like Blizzard having to grow Heroes of the Storm over the time. So if Heroes grows, in general, then I feel a lot more esports orgs are going to want to invest into Heroes and just help grow Heroes even more. So I feel it's kind of like a collaborative type of thing where Heroes of the Storm has to grow in general, the viewership has to go bigger, and Heroes has only been out for what, like a year now? No.
It launched in June of last year. So I mean, there's been
almost
competition.
Almost a year. It feels like it's been so much longer, and I mean that in the best way possible.
And so I feel like it's still got a way to go. You know what I mean? So when it grows, I feel like if we can see more competition, I think the step they took for this year, going with the different championships and different world championships, I think that's a great step towards the right direction. So as time goes on, if they just keep going down that path, I think they're really heading towards the right way, the right path.
Taza, any thoughts to add on that? Did your mic go out?
Your mic is muted.
I think.
Sorry, I
some
keep
pizza?
it muted in between. No, I have people in the office though. I actually have a lot of thoughts about this.
Well, you guys, I mean, are venture capitalists. That's the great thing to help with esports is getting directly involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that organization-wise, I think that staff definitely should, or I guess just the org in general, should probably help create more content for Heroes of the Storm and promote it using the resources that they have. I think that some of the larger organizations inside Heroes of the Storm right now don't do a very good job at publicizing for their team.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the ability to definitely create content, whether it be through meta snapshots, guides, just just needs to be more resources out for players, because it seems like a lot of the players just don't have the resources available to kind of get better at the game. A lot of the casual players, just there's no place to get better. And then on the side of Blizzard, I think that actually the past week or so, Blizzard has done a really good job, and just being able to maintain the kind of like how other I guess Riot and Valve do it. They keep pretty active communicating with their players. Last year, Blizzard was pretty hush-hush about their changes that they made to the game, and so as long as continue to do that, and I've heard a lot of good things from people at Blizzard about what their plans are for 2016. So as long as those plans go according to, and they go through.
On said
I bet he can't.
Those things I can't talk about yet. But.
Yeah, we can't.
What
disclose
kind
that.
of host would I be if I didn't try, though?
The timeline that Blizzard has given me, at least, looks very, very promising for the growth of Heroes of the Storm. That's all I can really say.
That's awesome to hear. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you guys are feeling like things are, starting to go the right way. That's a good thing to hear. What about you, Patrick?
Definitely Blizzard is starting to make steps in the right direction. Obviously, with Dustin Browder, very active on Twitter, really being the front man for just the past changes and everything happening. That's been really good, as it's giving not only their dev team, but just the Heroes team in general, a better insight to what we're feeling day to day. So, shout outs to him for as much flack as he probably takes every day. It's definitely making a difference, and the professionals are definitely starting to feel that impact, and it's obviously starting to show with the different type of play styles, getting past this stun comp that we saw for so long in December and earlier than that. Overall, though, I definitely agree with what Pat was saying. It doesn't feel like a lot of the organizations are really dedicating an all-in. They're just kind of dipping their toe in, and I think the scene has a lot to grow from, just on its own, not only in the community itself. The Heroes community is probably one of the best communities that I've seen, just because of the lack of toxicity that we've seen, not only in Reddit, but in Twitter, and how everybody's so supportive. So hopefully we can really take that growth moving into 2016. Only improvements that I can really see is that Blizzard, I don't want to say throws their weight around a little bit, but Blizzard is still one of the top, content producers with StarCraft, World of Warcraft, Hearthstone. They need to leverage some of this support to help out the teams, because as Pat was saying earlier, it's very difficult for up and coming teams, especially in my case for Team Blaze, because there's not a good foundation. Even though all these things are happening in 2016, we saw the great results from Heroes of the Dorm 2015. We saw mediocre results with BlizzCon last year, and Heroes of the Dorm sponsors and everybody moving forward are still pretty shaky on how they're feeling about 2016 and Heroes. So hopefully Blizzard can step up their game and really kind of nudge their industry buddies and say, hey, take a look at this. Things are happening. If you want to jump on board, this is the time to do it. So hopefully they can throw their body weight around a little bit and help out, and hopefully bring some new organizations as well as larger organizations buy into the dream.
Yeah. One quick thing to add to that is that I feel like if Blizzard also announces, like, let's say the America's Championship, like, there was no date announced for so long. I feel them holding back on a lot of that is also really bad for esports organizations, because they're really reluctant. They're like, okay, you're telling me all these things that are happening, for example, like the 3 championships, but where's the information? Where's the details?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
can't
So
help it.
that was like a huge thing going on to try to get like a sponsor going, especially for teams that are like up and coming, So
Yeah, I think in general, trust is always a concern in esports, just because there are so many people that enter and then leave, and it's kind of, I always call it the Wild West, because there's not a lot of standards for a lot of things too, and it might be something too where they take this, how it almost seemed kind of rushed, this first circuit, just getting the dates going, and they're like, okay, well now we can kind of space things out, look at how long everything took to get ready, and then maybe release dates further in for the next 2. And hopefully that will help out a lot. But one thing that I always, and I know that we need to get to the patch stuff, but one thing that I always wondered is if in like releasing content and trying to get sponsors in by like the personalities of players and of the team, if like having some sort of public relations coaching for players, if you guys ever thought like something like that would be a good idea.
Public relations coach.
Yeah, just like talent, almost talent coaching, right? For interviews
Right.
and streaming and.
Yeah.
I mean, each player is unique on their own. For the fact of there's obviously going to be just some people who just outshine everybody, and then you're going to have people like Jason on Team Blaze, who I will never probably put ever in front of an interview because he will not say a single word. He barely says a single word unless we're in scrims.
Oh.
Love the kid to death. Probably one of the best Abathur players I've seen in North America and probably the world with his Pajamather, but holy shit, he will never go in front of a camera.
I would love to be a fly on the wall for the public relations training with Naventic. Oh man, that would be fantastic.
The Kenma training.
Yeah, the Kenma public relations training starting now.
Ken's pretty good at live interviews. I'll give him that. I think that, yeah, definitely PR-wise, I think Blizzard probably should have someone go over publicity with a lot of the players. I think one of the issues with the growth, at least in the professional side of the game, is that there aren't very many players who are really memorable. You need a lot of personalities who are just awesome, very loud, outgoing personalities, and we just don't have that many of them yet. We need some people who you can hate, and that actually might be my team, honestly.
I mean,
You do, I mean,
Zuna's loud. There you go.
Look at BlizzCon, right? DK knew that. And they played that way in their interviews, and people were like, "Oh, these guys, like they're so like proud of themselves," and it felt really good then to see them get taken out, even though they're a great team and it was all for them. They're ex-StarCraft pros. They know that is an act, and that is how you kind of like build up personalities, and that you need all sorts of different types of personalities like that. So you make a great point. There are some, like, you need some trash talkers in interviews, and then you need some really like nice people that people rally behind, and people will also rally behind the trash talkers because we have all sorts of fans in esports. So
Yeah,
that's
so
something
many
that I
different
wondered.
wonderful types, different colors, different strokes, different folks.
Okay, well, we're going to go, before we talk about the patch that came in, any thoughts on that, Tsukima, or anything else from you guys?
No.
Okay.
I mean, for the specific patch, or?
Well, no. Like, did you have any
Or
thoughts
for the
on,
events.
for like talent coaching, or if you thought that it would be beneficial for teams, or even
Yeah,
just,
no, I definitely think like there's some players that just don't have experience like in other games. So like this is their first professional, type of scene. So there's some players that are not as quote unquote PR as others. So yes, I feel like it would just generally help. And as Tazza said, having like personalities is definitely a good thing. Having rivalries that are publicly known, it really helps for the scene to grow and for the fans especially. So
You see that all the way down to the collegiate level, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
one university versus another. We know
Exactly.
that people are maybe stealing some mascots here and there, but at the end of the day, like, it's all good-natured ribbing for the most part. 90% of it, I'd say.
See, I think we're going to start a rivalry with Panda Global just so we can say we're lighting pandas on fire.
Oh my gosh.
And then I'm going to have the best time making gifts for it.
Wow. I don't know where you're going to find lighting panda on fire gifts, but the internet is a dark and terrible place, so...
Yeah.
It's called 4chan for a reason.
Oh, he said the name. He
Pat-
said it out loud.
I think Patrick's Twitter is getting
It's
getting closed soon.
I might have PETA against you on that one.
We'll see about that. We'll see. Good luck in that endeavor.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys very much for your insight on that. It's really cool to hear how the teams are prepping and how you guys are helping them for that. Going into regionals next week, we did have a patch, and because we want to get into our play session, I'm just going to kind of run through these. If you guys have any thoughts on specific things, feel free to just stop me and just say, I really like that, or whatever you want to do.
The first one that you have written down there is all I need to talk about is S of Johan. Like, so thank you, goodbye, good riddance. Like, you guys can disagree with me. That's my thoughts. I'm done.
I think a lot of people were wondering if they'd move it to 16, but
or 13 or 16.
It can't be a thing. It can't be a thing. A lot of changes
I've heard
came
mixed
in.
results. I've heard mixed results about it because people were able to slowly start to figure out how to counter it and just reposition correctly. Now, maybe in the lower tiers, it was probably just wrecking way too hard, but I don't know if necessarily taking away the whole skill was the best decision. Maybe we might see them, scale back a little bit, but for now it's gone. So,
I think in Hero League it was a big thing, like for it to be like in terms of a pub, let's say a good player who picks up the hero uses that in like a pub game. I feel like that's just straight stomp, But in general, like competitively, I think a good thing to look at is also the level 20 nerf that happened.
Tarasha's elements.
Tarasha's, that was actually that was good.
20% ability power, as long as you're
that was
cycling your
huge.
abilities. Is,
Oh,
that was
wow. Yeah.
I mean, she's still a really good pick.
Yeah.
She's still
I
a
like
good
the
pick.
reduction of mana regeneration as well. I think from 25 to 20%, and I think it just she's much more balanced now. They balanced.
It was from 50 to 25.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It was huge.
It was
cut down pretty hard.
Yeah,
it actually forces you to back now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And instead of just being aggressive, now you see
Exactly.
me, now you're dead.
What was interesting to me is she came out and it was very clearly like she is going to be a high skill capped character who does a lot of damage, but also is very vulnerable and squishy. And has mana problems. You really have to watch how much you use her mana. And it was like, okay, but we have Astral Presence to fix the mana thing. You can get like Diamond Skin if you want to go the Calamity build route, or her range on her abilities makes her fairly safe. Really safe even, because you can do like the Magic Missile build with As of Johan and then like pull them in and hit them with every Magic Missile, and then it just, both of those were pretty easy to deal with, those problems of hers. So, and they even talked about how with S of Johan, it was really easy to land all of the magic missiles, and they'd want the skill cap to increase. So it sounds like they're going the right direction with her. Do you guys think that she'll be do you feel she's going to be in a good place now moving into regionals? Are your teams still concerned about her at all?
My team thinks that she's still strong.
Okay.
But not nearly like the pick priority that she was a week ago.
Okay.
Exactly. Same thing here.
Kael'thas or Li Ming, same, like, is it now a toss-up between the two as opposed to just a straight-out Li Ming?
No, I think it's more like Li Ming, Jaina, I would say. Because I think Kael'thas got, he's still good, but his priority-wise, like in draft, got bumped down pretty hard. So she's definitely still strong, but just not as take it or die.
I'm a little upset that they reduced the magic missiles damage after removing Essence of Johan, because even in the developers' comments they said we got rid of this so that, because magic missile was too easy to line up. Well, changing the damage afterwards now that Essence of Johan is gone, I think they could have left it the way that it was.
But magic missiles is insane. It's just.
But she's squished and she's
so crazy. I don't know. I feel she can turn a fight way too hard in the late game, way too quickly.
With the proper blink build, she can in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat, you mess up once, and at least before. Now it's still good, but it's not as crazy.
She's like reset, another kill, reset. Yeah.
What's his rewind skill?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had another change come into our new Rhaegar. Before we had Lightning Shield in general, just the damage reduced, but now with this one, Rising Storm still has kind of the same effect, like you can get to the max amount of damage, but instead of 20% per stack that you get with that, and this is his level 16 Lightning Shield talent that we're referring to, guys. instead of 20% per stack, it's 10% per stack, but the max stacks have increased from 10 to 20. So I'm really happy about this. I like that there's still the potential there, and if you've got like, you know, an Illidan who's going ham and sticking with everybody, and you've got slows going down on people to allow him to be right in the middle of the action, like it's still there, but it's a lot more difficult, and you have to actually like, you know, work at making sure that you're in the right position to get that. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Good?
Who wants to start?
I think it was definitely good for the fact of Rhaegar was hitting his pinnacle way too early.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, basically they spread it out. They made it much more even. Yes, Rhaegar's still, you know, very good. You know, we're going to still see a lot of first pick, first ban probably type of scenarios once everybody gets to LA. I mean, still going to be very strong, but it definitely is going to change up how people draft. Maybe not first pick sometimes. Maybe somebody will do something differently, or they'll play a much more early game counter for Rhaegar, because, you know, if you can shut him down, you might be able to potentially run away with that lead early. So we might see a little bit of different play styles, maybe more aggressive play styles coming out of different teams with that. So good step in the right direction for Blizzard, though, with making that change.
Yeah. I think it was needed. He was just way too strong. In a fight, just way too early in the fight as well. So this kind of, you know, he's still obviously first ban, first pick, or, well, I mean, first pick worthy as well. So he's just not as crazy, I guess. So it was definitely a good change.
Good. And then finally we had changes to both of our warriors, or two of our warriors. We have more than two. Hardened Carapace for Anubarak. The shield amount was increased. And then Stitches, the last white talent, which is at level 7 for his Devour ability, the cooldown reduction on getting a kill within a couple of seconds of using that is decreased from 15 to 12 seconds. So interestingly, though, there was a bug on Stitches.
That was fun.
Yeah,
the hook
it
bug.
kept him from being used in the last qualifier, and it hasn't been addressed here. I'm not sure if...
I don't think it's fixed. But I think it was just due to a skin. Like, if you had a skin, then it would happen. I'm not sure if... we didn't really, like, experience it. We've scrimmed with it, so I don't know.
Did that affect anybody's like playstyle going into regionals? I wonder. Were you guys
I don't-
scrimming with stitches? Bleh. There you go.
I don't
This
know.
guy. Right here.
I don't know. I have the same figurine.
Well, we're going to play all of these heroes in our play session. Did any of you guys have anything to add about any of the patch changes before we set that up?
Just Anubarak, please. Please continue looking at him.
Yeah, buff
Yeah.
Anubarak and Stitches. Those are my favorite tanks.
I mean, Stitches is pretty insane right now.
Yeah, I don't know
so
if he needs to be buffed.
I don't know if he needs to be buffed.
If I had more time to play him, maybe I'd actually land the hooks, but I'll blame that on Blizzard for not making the hook easier to land right now.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
I see. That makes
But-
total sense.
I know
The
MF
E-chain-
Tally Time is happy with Stitches right now.
The E-change on Stitches was definitely good, because on Infernal Shrines he was like insane with that.
Yeah.
Like he could just keep healing
And keep
on
getting
the
fletchlings.
monkeys. Yeah.
Monkeys? Is that what you call them?
Wait. Yeah, I call them monkeys. Both my teams called them monkeys.
Huh.
Always monkeys.
What is with the obsession in monkeys in Heroes of the Storm? There's like, for
What's-
Goon Squad, they had the monkey symbol. There's people naming their characters like Monkey Gems and things like that.
Nice.
And then
Oh.
there's a couple of teams named monkeys.
Yeah,
There's
there's
a
Monkeys of the Storm.
monkey. Yes, Monkeys of the Storm. That was it. There is lots of stuff going on with monkeys. Something is afoot.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. But in the meantime, we're going to take a break, guys. It might be a little bit longer than you're used to because I have to set up one of the overlays, and I'm going to have to bring the stream completely down. But when we return, we're going to have a really fun play session, custom game. It's going to be on Infernal Shrines because yay. And that'll be fun. We'll have some people from the community. So stay tuned, guys, for that. We'll see you soon.
Is it really Year of the Monkey?